Good morning, everyone. Here we are. It's the Fruit Nut News on, of course, the 18th today, ladies and gentlemen. The 18th today. Wheel of Fortune continues to spin. A little bit bright in the northeast of England today. Can't turn the brightness down, unfortunately. But anyway, there we go. So, quick hello to everybody. We've got Lisa McCulloch's in, Glenn Pearson, Sharon Young's in, Kelly Close is in, Natalie Bowen, Christina, Diane Williams is in, and Taylor, Belinda, and Looney Lena. So, good morning, everyone. A small gathering this morning, but not to worry, not to worry. So let's quickly get on with it then. So the big news, of course, is the Donald Trump announcement about, of course, the Pope, which is quite an interesting one. People around the globe, of course, have gone absolutely fucking nuts when they don't actually know anything about the Vatican. So, of course, even the Pope himself, who is supposed to be non-political and only religious, has stepped into the quagmire regarding politics, which is quite an interesting situation that we find ourselves in. So, for a quick recap, okay, the Vatican is, of course, the Pope might want to take this into consideration. First of all, the Pope needs to check his history. Back, of course, in the day, the Vatican had to build a massive wall around the Basilica, etc., etc. And this was to protect themselves from Muslim invaders. Yes, that lovely word that we all like to use called Islam. Very interesting. A religion that a lot of fanatical characters seem to want to, should we say, force upon the world. So, but anyway, you know, if you are going to get 72 virgins when you get to heaven, of course, well, you know, what an incentive that is. Not really. Yeah, very interesting. And then, of course, we've got the Pope's sort of words on this. But then, of course, yesterday, apparently a group of doctors and engineers clean over from, the third world, came into France and smashed up a Catholic bookshop, claiming that the bookshop was promoting Satanism and bad vibes. That's quite an interesting one. The Pope never really said anything about that. He was more interested in Donald Trump. Yeah. Quite an interesting situation, that, isn't it? Now, Trump wasn't calling out the Pope personally. What Trump was doing, of course, was calling out the Vatican. Now, we know that underneath the Vatican, there is a tunnel from from the Vatican to Jerusalem, which happens to be somewhere in the region of 1,500 miles long. Now, initially, there was 150 miles of gold in those tunnels that apparently, according to the Chinese white dragons, that gold was taken. Also, as well, let's not forget there are many religious hidden books in regards to the teachings of all kinds of different things. Let's also remember that religion and Catholicism in particular is a very paedophilic and satanic cult organization. And even today, they don't seem to have got on top of the paedophilia and Satanism, which is actually quite an interesting situation. They've had quite a lot of situations happen. Unfortunately, of course, they've done nothing about it whatsoever, which means that they must be protecting paedophiles, they must be protecting Satanism, they must be protecting all kinds of things that if you have done a little bit of research, you will clearly understand and know about. Now, meanwhile, as well, the Trump tweeted out, "Panicans are hardest hit." In Gematria, this means Christmas is coming. We're talking about July, the beginning and the end, and of course we're talking about the fall of the church and Rome. Okay, Claudia Caesar, again the Rome, the final curtain call, as we well know. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Okay, and then, of course, congratulations to us all for enduring this bullshit. And the final curtain call is, of course, referring to the end of the church. Should we say false religions? Should we say false prophets for the truth to come out? Now, also, we will come back to the DWP of the UK. The DWP are, of course, the Department of War and Pensions, that are quite happy to rob pensioners of the money that they invested. However, they are quite now happy to give the extra wives of polyamorous relationships a £6,000 a year extra income on top of the benefits. Yes, you heard it correctly, £6,000. Doesn't sound a lot of money, but let me tell you, it is. Now, Erica Kirk, an interesting character, taken over from Charlie Kirk, that wanted to implement more gun freedoms and was killed by a gun. His second in command was a guy that wanted freedom of movement in regards to COVID and, of course, died of COVID. Very interesting, you may ask. Now, Erica Kirk seemed to do quite a lot of celebrating over the death of her husband. It happened to be like a Donald Trump MMA fight on a Saturday night at Wembley Stadium. So it was actually, now I don't know whether she was celebrating or whether she was mourning. You couldn't quite tell. There seemed to be a lot of crocodile tears. There also seemed to be a lot of hugs and kisses knocking around, in some instances in very inappropriate ways. It was a bit like the Italian Prime Minister Meloni and Louis Macron yesterday during the talks on the Strait of Hormuz opening. Melania seemed to be very uncomfortable in Macron's presence. Not surprised, because he's a raging homosexual with a cock for men. Very interesting. Yeah, that is an interesting one. Now, meanwhile, Erica apparently missed the latest Turning Point debate due to the lack of attendees. However, I would imagine there was probably less than 500 there. The place was absolutely empty. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance turned up and started to talk about Frazzle Drip and Pizzagate. Very interesting is all I can say. Very interesting. So that sheds new light on the Hillary Clinton frazzle drip situation, and of course, what went on with the Pizzagate thing, etc., etc. Remember Tom Hanks with the bloodied face on, of course, was it Castaway, that film was called? Then, of course, there was Andromachrome introduced into the blonde-head presenter's situation. Yeah, we're talking about Anthony Weiner's laptop. Always wondered why Anthony Weiner was called Weiner. I think it's because he's got a little wiener, maybe. Very interesting. Now, you will all have heard of the Gambino crime family. Now, extortion, money laundering, mafia, gang, gun wars, drugs, etc. You name it, you've got it. Now, apparently John, who is a former Gambino crime family member, apparently wants to join the USA and become president of the United States of America. Now, I don't know about you, but could that possibly be a conflict of interests, maybe? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now, of course, we come to Britain. We're going to just steer away from Keir Starmer for a minute because, of course, we need to steer away from that man because he is literally full of absolute shite and tripe, ladies and gentlemen. This, of course, is the Mandelson case, the Epstein case, the Andrew case, the connections that go all across the world. It is, of course, like a massive spider web that you would see in a James Bond film. Very interesting, but it's even more complicated than a James Bond film. Of course, in a James Bond film, you would, of course, know who the villains were and who the good guys were. Unfortunately, in this little scenario that we've got going on today, you don't actually know who's fucking who. Well, you do if you're quite happy to work it out. But of course, if you're just a bypasser to the game, you won't understand what the game is actually all about. Anyway, back to Epsom. Now, this was, of course, the 2-hour ordeal faced by a girl who the police reported was a woman. She wasn't a woman Sarah is the chief there. So, Sarah, she wasn't a woman, she was a girl. First of all, now Sarah admits that that several men raped a girl. Okay, we've heard that it was 4. We're not quite sure. We don't really care for the numbers. All we're bothered about is that a young girl was raped on the streets of Epsom in Surrey. So Sarah from Surrey Plod admitted that there was a rape of a girl, or should we say a woman in their language. Okay, but apparently they found no evidence to suggest that it's migrant involvement. Okay, Sarah, we get that. Okay, we get that. But let's ask you a question, Sarah, okay? A common sense question, okay? If there is no issue regarding the migrants, then why not issue more details, obviously providing that you can, and obviously that it's safe to do so. Okay, maybe you're looking for 4 or 5 or 6 white males. Maybe those males are I don't know, British. Maybe they are Australian. Maybe they are Mexican. Who knows? Okay. But because you've issued no statement, okay, everybody is speculating about what it could be. Okay. And, you know, do you not think, Sarah, that the most important thing for you to do would be, first of all, just to tell the truth? Just tell us the truth. If you can't report on the case, tell us why you can't report on the case. Okay? You know, are these people underage? What are they? Okay? And it's really, really very simple. If you stick to the rule, Sarah, of basically telling the truth, then you can't go far wrong. Because, of course, the truth always stands at the precipice of any information coming forward. Once you start lying, once you start not telling the truth, and once you start making excuses, the usual thing is that those lies and excuses will come back and bite you on the arse. It's the law. It's the rule it's the rule of the universe. Okay. And so I'm surprised that you haven't worked this out, yet about this world that we live in. This world that we are now living in is all about truth. It's all about transparency. It's all about not fucking lying. Okay? That's what it's all about. Now, Helen is a Lib Dem. Helen is a Lib Dem. And she is very concerned about the Epsom people who are voicing their opinions about a girl that was raped for 2 hours. Now, it's clear that Helen, from the Lib Dem party, supports the rape of women and girls on the UK streets and has very little sympathy for, of course, the victims of these particularly horrendous crimes. So on Saturday morning, we'd like to give a big shout out, not only to Sarah of PC Plod Surrey, but also, of course, to Helen. Helen, the Liberal Democrat who supports the rape of women and girls on the UK streets. And that's the question that I would sincerely put to her, okay, in regards to the statement that she put out. Very interesting. Now, Keir Starmer, of course, we had to talk about him. Absolute fucking, what should we say, cockwomble. Absolutely cockwomble. Meets up with France for some kind of a chat about the Hormuz Strait. When the Hormuz Strait is open, this is like, this is arriving late for a dinner party. It's like arriving late when the horse has already bolted out of the stables. It's like arriving halfway through the Epsom Derby, so to speak. Know what I mean? So the question is, he claims that he didn't know nothing, which proves that actually he's an absolute liar, because he should know. Don't forget, the appointment of Mandelson would have been approved by not only Keir Starmer, but also the King of England, ladies and gentlemen. The King of England would have supported Mandelson's appointment, which leaves us a very big question. Where is the King of England standing? Well, we know the fact that the King of England is standing with Islam. Okay. We know that the King of England is against the Christian majority of the UK. We know that his son, William, is a very dodgy character in regards to Kate Middleton and, of course, supports Islam as well. Just as the Pope is supporting Islam as well, it seems that the whole world has gone Islam crazy, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, why don't we have a bit of Christianity crazy? Know what I mean? Makes sense. And so the question in regards to the security checks were who withheld the checks, who made the checks happen, who was it? Now, apparently, Ollie, not from the cartoon Popeye, but Ollie has basically taken the fall for, of course, Keir Starmer's lies. I hope that Ollie has got very well compensated for this political fall of his career. So we'll wait and see. Now, somebody is telling porkies, somebody is lying, somebody along the line is lying. And it's also clear as well that Ollie is, of course, a friend of Israel. Ollie supports Israel. Ollie's a friend of Israel. So the question is Israel now running the UK? Or was Israel always running the UK? And when you look into Five Eyes, Mossad and CIA and FBI and all that, you realise, well, yes, they fucking were. Along, of course, with the monarchy. The UK is Israel. Yes, that's a very good, interesting thing. And don't forget as well that Charlie now is massively implicated in the Epstein files. He's also connected to Andrew, which is his brother. His brother was should we say, a Mossad spy or informant or whatever you want to call it. Andrew, of course, was an envoy back in the day connected to Mandelson. It's a massive, massive spider's web. A massive, massive spider's web. And there is no getting away from it, ladies and gentlemen. There is no getting away from it. It's all going to come out at the end. And as you have noticed, it's getting quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. Now, meanwhile, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Belgium seized undeclared military shipments from the UK through Belgium. None of it was declared. There were 33 crates found of weapons and military hardware. Very interesting that it just happened to be 33 crates. So now what's happened is that apparently Belgium banned all military shipments to the Ukraine in regards, of course, to the Ukrainian war and the Ukrainian money laundering situation that appears to be at a very fast standstill at the moment. So anyway, we will, of course, wait and see. Now, according to the bullshit news, apparently the Israeli embassy has been under some kind of suspicious activity. Now, apparently, items of clothing and implements were found in around the Israeli embassy area. Now, police had to wear protective clothing. Okay. Initially, it was thought that there could be a bomb. Initially, we were thinking white powder, phosphorus, maybe nuclear material. We're not quite sure. But anyway, no, it turns out that apparently a vast amount of dildos were found, sex toys, whips, handcuffs, okay, and items of leather clothing, including GIMP masks. Now, of course, the main suspect of this has been taken into custody, who happens to be a woman called Niblette. Now, it is actually quite an apt name to be called Niblette or Nibbles. And Mrs. Nibbles or Miss Nibbles, whoever it happens to be, wanted to have a sex fest in regards to Westminster, and this was supposed to be a summer. It's supposed to be a summer of sex fest in Westminster. Now, Mrs. Niblett was going to do workshops and exercises and TED Talks on dildos, sex toys, whips, handcuffs, bondage, threesomes, foursomes, orgies, you name it, she was going to do it. Now, of course, what she didn't realise, of course, was that Westminster is very well versed in, of course, paedophilia, which obviously includes a lot of the stuff that Niblette wants to bring in. Now, remember, of course, that this is also highlighting Zach Polanski. Now, remember, Zach Polanski is, of course, fucking hell. Zach Polanski, who happens to be the Green Party associate in Denton and Manchester, with his plumber accomplice. His mother happened to be a dominatrix sex worker and chat line host. Under the name of Hannah Anal. Listen, I do apologise. I do try to I do try to keep a straight face as best as I can. But when I start talking about some of this stuff, I find it quite amusing that the level of stuff that's going on around the world and particularly in the UK at the moment is so out of the normal sphere of what we used to class as normality, that you really do have to question, okay, the pantomime. It's an absolute pantomime. It doesn't matter where you look. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you look, and it doesn't matter what you are looking at. It's just an utter pantomime. And I wanted to also mention. I don't think I mentioned this yesterday. Apparently, right. So we know that the banks are laundering money. We know that companies like Santander and Lloyds Bank of London, who are global players, by the way, Bank of America, etc., we know that they are laundering trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, not only through taxpayers' money, but also through insider trading, also from wars, also from conflicts around the world, also from charities around the world, okay, and trillions and trillions of money goes through these banking systems, okay? And we have what we call shell companies, which are fake companies that are set up using Companies House in the UK and Companies House around the world. And their companies are set up, companies go bust without any trace, without any accountability. And it is, of course, the perfect way to, of course, launder money. Now, there was a rather large statement yesterday, and this was about a new AI banking tool. So I want you to think about this. So the banking system came out and said that this new AI banking tool would be detrimental to the banking system. And it went on to talk about how this AI tool could easily be manipulated. It could easily be hacked into. It could easily be, overridden. It wasn't going to be any good for the banking system. And when I heard it, I got to thinking to myself, well, why is that? I mean, this AI stuff is pretty cock on. I'm not saying that they don't make mistakes, because sometimes they do, but it's actually cock on. Now, what would the banking system not want to happen in the banking system? Well, they wouldn't want an AI tool that was able to track a transaction from the source of its implementation right back to forward to the source where it was going, and finally track it back to the source that downloaded the information to start with. So that would be a tool that would stop the corruption. It would stop the money laundering. It would stop the corruption all around the world, because that would mean that AI tool was able to track and trace every single transaction. Now, I am on the understanding that has already happened. So the announcement of this AI tool is simply a pre-warning for the general public of what is about to happen. Now, David Steele, who happened to be heavily involved in security and military back in the day, he was very versed on military activity, etc., etc. And we're going back now. I think David Steele was ex-CIA. I think it was round about the 1990s. David Steele passed away now, but I'm sure that David Steele was speaking around about the 1990s. And what he said was, he did a really interesting speech, and he said that I can never tire of tracking and tracing the corruption within the CIA and around the world. He said, we have been tracking you for at least the last 15 years. So that would take us back to, like the early 2000s. He said, we have been tracking and tracing you for the last 15 years. And when we finally get you into NSA or Benny, he called it, that's what he called it, which is the judicial system. He said, we have every single bit of information and stuff on you guys. You guys have won yourselves out. You have two choices. You either do the deal, which means that they do the deal and they work with the white hats, okay, or you're gonna die. That was the two things. He was very, very clear about what was going to happen. You either do the deal and work for the white hats, or you're going to die. And we've seen that happen on numerous occasions. Now, we do believe that Robert Steele, there is a massive possibility that Robert Steele, among many other people, have gone into a witness protection program. They could be anywhere, really, anywhere. But that is a great possibility. So, ladies and gentlemen, on this rather warm Saturday morning in the northeast of England, with, of course, the Wheel of Fortune spinning, we never know where it's going to stop. We never know when it's going to stop. But, ladies and gentlemen, it certainly is spinning. So, with that in mind, and a little bit of Saturday morning laughs, and, of course, a very ugly face, not, and less itchy skin this morning, by the way. So that could be a good sign of things to come. But, of course, it can flare up at any time. Alcohol free for 18 days now, 18, 19 days, somewhere around there. Not that I'm counting, of course, but it is actually nice to feel the difference, so to speak. And let me tell you, it is quite a difference. So anyway, very interesting. Enjoy the day. Have, of course, a nice day. Someone said, "Are you doing Ramadan?" Oh dear. No, I'm not doing Ramadan. I just decided to do a fast, which I did for, I think it was about 14 days, I think it was, somewhere 10, 11 days, somewhere around there. And then, because I'd had an allergic reaction to something, I'm not quite sure what it was. I'm still trying to work out what triggered it, etc., etc. So, I decided to go full metal jacket and, basically, stop drinking to eliminate that. And also, to go on a fast, in order to then, clean out all the toxins in your body, etc., etc. Anyway, it's been an interesting time doing it. It's brought up quite a lot of positive things personally for me. So which I'll probably tell you about. When of course we've sort of got back on the wagon, so to speak. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough for me. You don't want to hear about my story. It's pretty boring. Anyway, take care. Love you loads. Ramadan, I love that. Take care. Love you loads. Have a great Saturday, and we will more than likely catch up with you later on. If I don't catch up with you at 7 o'clock, it will probably be because I'm taking a rest tonight. I'm not quite sure yet. I tend to go on how I feel, and not only that, the information that has been coming through during the day. So we will, of course, wait and see. Love you loads. 33 people. Look, great stuff. Them numbers never lie. Love you loads. Take care.